And East African politics. We're going to take a look at some of the papers that are covering international news just to see what's happening across the pond. So we're starting off with the African News website that's telling us what's happening in Uganda with regards to churches embracing the gay movement. So, of course, the Archbishop of the Anglican Church in Uganda has said that he is rejecting the church's slow embracing of gay marriages, and therefore he will not be attending a meeting of the Anglican Churches, an international meeting, just to to put down his foot and say he's not going to be part of any such business, because he says it is unbiblical. And we know that the Christian Church, as long as the Christian religion, as long as many other similar religions, do not advocate for such kind of same-sex marriages. So take a look at the African News website to see what this paper is giving us today on the African front. Also, they're telling us more about Felisa Yiyesa, who is an Ethiopian athlete who has been in exile for a while now, since the Rio Olympic. This man did not go back home after the Rio Olympics because he did not, after he finished his race, winning the silver medal, he made a sign that is symbolic of the Roma protests in Ethiopia. Of course, this put his life in danger. Therefore, he did go to the United States and sought asylum and was granted and has been there since. But for every race he takes part in, he does not fail to make that sign just to show solidarity with his Oromo people back home. Then let's move on to the Al Jazeera website. Today they're telling us more on what's happening in the United States. Now, a grand jury has been formed just to look into the case of the inappropriate or alleged inappropriate connections between the Trump campaign, that was before he took office, and the Russian government. So this is a symbol that the investigations into that scandal may be gaining steam. So this means that they might be taking it further into the steps of prosecution, or it means that they have enough evidence to take this to the judiciary or something of the sort. So this is a huge step in terms of the investigations, but not very good news for the White House. Let's take a look at the CNN website and see what's making headlines today. Of course, it's all about what's happening in the United States, being a paper that is based from that country, and they're also telling us more on what's happening in the with regards to the Russians and the connections between the Trump campaign and that meeting that seemingly was the straw that broke the camel's back. We know that Jared Kushner, the son-in-law to Donald Trump, his son, and of course Paul Manafort, who was his top advisor of Donald Trump, were at the Trump Towers meeting this lawyer from Russia and trying to get information from her. But as they say, it turns out she did not have much material to give them. But some pundits beg to differ, because the fact that they actually took the meeting means that they were willing to get information against Hillary Clinton and receive help from Russia to win the United States election, which basically means that Russia was intervening in that election. So let's take a look at The Guardian, still taking us to America. We're focusing on Mexico and the United States, so a different shift from all the stuff about Russia. So Peña Nieto is the president of Mexico, and he has been told by Donald Trump, according to this article that was made, that is quoting the Washington Post. He is saying that he was told by Donald Trump that he should not mention the fact that Donald Trump feels that the Mexican wall, which was a pivotal campaign promise, is not something as important as it was back then. So Donald Trump says that it's not as important. Mexico does not have to pay for it, and these are leaked details. So they're not details that were given out in the public domain out of just voluntarily. So apparently the Mexican wall is not as important to Donald Trump anymore, and Mexico does not have to pay for it. But just as long as Peña Nieto, the president of Mexico, is not talking about it in the public domain. That is The Guardian giving us information on what's happening in the United States, shifting from the usual UK coverage that makes headlines in that part of the world. Back to you, Michael, for more on Kivumbi.
Singado, therefore, updating us on what the world press has got. And welcome back to this side of the studio, where we have the High Commissioner